Why do people specialize and trade? I'm going to explain this with my version of the Adam and Eve story. Once upon a time, two cruise passengers, Adam and Eve, were shipwrecked and ended up on an uninhabited island. Initially, they did not know about each other's presence because they had washed up far apart. In order to survive, each had to provide enough food and clothing for themselves until they could be rescued. Now, working very hard, using all his skills, and dividing his time equally between the two tasks, Adam was able to produce every day 1 unit of food, be it a fish, coconut, or wild game, and 1 unit of clothing, be it a fig leaf or animal skin. Similarly, Eve, being equal to Adam in ability, was also able to produce every day 1 unit of food and 1 unit of clothing. Because they were self-sufficient, they could only consume what they produced. And so, consumption of both Adam and Eve was equal to what they produced themselves. Now one fine day, they both ran into each other. What is the first thing that came to their mind as they saw each other? Of course, it was the possibility of specialization and trading. They decided that Adam would spend all his energies every day producing food, and Eve would spend all hers on obtaining clothing. Then each evening, they would come together and, trade. So Adam began to spend all his energies gathering food, and as a result was able to produce 4 units of food every day. Eve began to spend all her energies into making clothing, and as a result was able to produce 4 units of clothing every day. At the end of the day, Adam gave 2 units of food to Eve in exchange for 2 units of clothing. So how much did they end up consuming after the trade? Adam and Eve each ended up consuming 2 units of food and 2 units of clothing, twice the amount they were consuming in self-sufficiency. And they lived happily ever after. Moral of the story is that specialization and trade increases total production and total consumption. How did Adam increase his food production by a factor of 4 when the time spent on the task increased by only a factor of 2? It is because of specialization, as specialization increases productivity. There are several reasons for this increase. In general, as a worker specializes in only one task, he becomes proficient in it because of focus and practice. Thus, his dexterity increases. Less time is lost in trial and error, and he is able to produce more with the given amount of time. A worker also saves time moving from one task or place to another, as well as being able to work without interruption. Also, when he focuses on just one task, he has a greater incentive and the opportunity to come up with knowledgeable and innovative ways of performing his task that further improves his productivity. In the modern economy, most workers specialize in very narrow tasks: driving taxis, teaching college economics, delivering mail, treating cancer. Why does a college economics teacher not also teach high school math and also elementary school music? Why does a taxi driver not also drive trucks and tractors and grow his own food? Because if she were to do several things, she wouldn't be able to do any of those things well. Both an economics college professor and taxi driver are better off specializing in certain tasks and using the money they get in exchange to trade it for things that others have specialized in. Let me ask you, would you rather build your own house or buy your house from the market. Just think how much money you could save if you built your own house. You could just Google how to build a house or watch a YouTube video and you could get to work. Well, you wouldn't do that because it would be a very poor quality house. A house bought from the market is of way better quality because every task that went into building that house, down to hammering the last nail, was performed by someone who specialized in performing that task. So, to summarize, we are able to consume more and better stuff when we are able to produce more and better stuff. But what allows us to produce more and better stuff? Greater knowledge and the efficiency does. What enables greater knowledge and efficiency? Specialization does. And what enables specialization? This is important. It is the possibility of trade that does. We wouldn't specialize if we couldn't trade. Would Adam have specialized in food production without the possibility of trading with Eve? He would have been well fed, but he would have died of cold and exposure to the elements. Similarly, without the possibility of trade, Eve wouldn't have specialized in clothing either. She would have been fabulously dressed, but would have been starving, like a fashion model. So the possibility of trade is what is at the root of abundant and good stuff that we enjoy in a modern economy. Now, just as two people can benefit by specializing and trading, so can two cities, or two states, or two countries. The economic benefits of specialization and exchange remain the same. The US and China specializing and trading with each other is just a larger scale version of Adam and Eve specializing and trading with each other. Now, we haven't considered yet how people or countries decide what they should specialize in. It's not as easy as saying they should specialize in whatever they're good at, because it's not very obvious what they are good at, as we'll see in the video on absolute advantage versus comparative advantage.